My name is Melanie, I'm 29, and 6 months ago I discovered my husband Jason was cheating on me with his intern. The same husband who built his entire social media empire preaching about relationship loyalty and trust. The same man whose perfect marriage aesthetic paid our bills. The same person I sacrificed my own dreams for. I never expected to find those messages, but what he never expected was my response. Before I dive into how I dismantled his carefully curated life, drop a comment letting me know where you're watching from, hit that like button, and subscribe to join me on this wild journey. Jason and I met during our junior year of college. I was studying marketing and photography while he was pursuing communications with dreams of becoming a journalist. We literally bumped into each other at the campus coffee shop. Such a cliché, I know. I spilled my latte all over his economics textbook, and instead of getting angry, he laughed and said it was the universe's way of making sure he noticed me. Within weeks, we were inseparable. After graduation, we both landed entry-level jobs in media. Jason started a blog on the side documenting our weekend adventures exploring New York City's hidden gems. I took all the photos, edited them, and helped craft the narratives. It was fun at first, just sharing our genuine experiences. Neither of us expected it to become anything serious. But something clicked with audiences. His writing had this authentic, relatable quality, and my photography captured moments in a way that felt intimate yet aspirational. We gained followers steadily, then rapidly. By our second anniversary, Jason's social accounts had grown enough that brands were reaching out for partnerships. "We could actually make something of this," he said one night, his eyes bright with excitement. Not just a side hustle, but a career. I still remember how we celebrated when he hit 100,000 followers, a tiny apartment dance party with cheap champagne and dreams bigger than our studio apartment. We got married 2 years after college, a beautiful but modest ceremony we partially funded through a wedding brand partnership. Even then, it felt magical rather than commercial. As Jason's platform grew, he pivoted from travel content to lifestyle and relationship advice. The audience loved seeing our interactions, our date nights, our seemingly perfect partnership. "You two are relationship goals," commenters would gush. Jason leaned into it, creating content about communication, trust, and maintaining romance in long-term relationships. Behind the scenes, I was increasingly becoming the invisible engine of our brand. I managed our content calendar, negotiated with brands, edited videos until 3 a.m., and strategized growth while Jason became the face that everyone recognized. I didn't mind initially. We were building something together, and his charisma on camera was undeniable. When he crossed 1 million followers and secured a management team, we bought our dream apartment, and I quit my day job to work full-time on our brand. "We're a team," Jason would say, kissing my forehead after I'd spent hours editing his latest video. "None of this exists without you, Mel." Our online presence portrayed the perfect couple. Morning coffee rituals, workout routines, cooking healthy meals together, and deep conversations about personal growth. We shared just enough vulnerability to seem authentic without revealing any real problems. The carefully crafted image extended to our home, aesthetically pleasing, always camera-ready, with designated spots for our daily content creation. Followers began stopping us on the street. Jason got invited to speak at creator conferences. Our income tripled, then quadrupled. We hired assistants. Brands wanted long-term partnerships rather than one-off posts. Life was unfolding exactly as we had hoped. But about a year ago, something shifted. Jason started taking more meetings alone, insisting it wasn't necessary for both of us to attend. He became protective of his phone, changing his passcode and angling the screen away when I walked by. Our content planning sessions grew shorter, with Jason dismissing my ideas more frequently. "The audience is evolving," he'd say. "We need to stay ahead of trends, not just do what's worked before." He started scheduling overnight trips for exclusive brand retreats or creator summits that somehow never had online footprints. When I'd ask questions, he'd get defensive. "Don't you trust me? Isn't that what we preach to our audience?" He'd respond, making me feel guilty for asking. So I buried my concerns, convincing myself I was being paranoid. Maybe the success was changing our dynamic naturally. Maybe I was jealous of his growing public recognition while I remained largely in the background. I focused on being the supportive wife we portrayed online, ignoring the knot in my stomach that tightened with each late-night notification that made him quickly flip his phone over. After all, our lifestyle brand was built on our perfect relationship. And perfect relationships didn't include suspicion, right? The first concrete suspicion arrived on a Tuesday morning. Jason was in the shower, and his phone lit up on the kitchen counter with a notification. "Amber, can't wait to see you later, face blowing kiss." The message preview disappeared as quickly as it appeared, but it was enough to send my heart racing. When Jason emerged from the bathroom, I casually asked who Amber was. His reaction told me everything I needed to know before his words did. He froze momentarily, a slight widening of his eyes before he composed himself. "Oh, she's a new collaboration partner from Pristine Management. We're working on a sponsored series about relationship communication," he explained, his voice just a touch too even. "Why do you ask?" "Just saw a notification pop up," I replied, studying his face. "You checking my phone now?" he laughed, but there was an edge to it. "You know how these management types are with their emojis. Everyone's bestie in this industry." I nodded and dropped it, but something had shifted. That night, instead of helping with his content, I opened our shared calendar on my laptop. According to the schedule, Jason had a meeting with his management team tomorrow at their Midtown office. Yet Amber's message suggested something more personal than professional. Over the next few weeks, I started noticing more inconsistencies. Jason said he was at a brand meeting in Soho, but our joint credit card showed a charge at a hotel bar in Brooklyn. He claimed to be filming content with another creator downtown, but his location sharing, which he probably forgot was still active, showed him uptown. Small discrepancies that could each be explained away, but together formed a pattern I couldn't ignore. Then came the late-night phone calls. Jason would step onto our apartment balcony, speaking in hushed tones. When I asked who called so late, he'd say it was his manager Trevor with urgent campaign issues or his brother with relationship problems. But the calls came with increasing frequency, always when I was getting ready for bed. After one such call, I noticed Jason had left his laptop open in our home office. A notification banner slid across the screen, a new email from Amber with the subject line, "Tonight was amazing." I stared at it, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, debating whether to cross a line I had never approached in our 6 years together. Before I could decide, Jason walked in, quickly closed the laptop, and carried it to the living room without meeting my eyes. That weekend, I met my best friend Rachel for brunch, my first social outing in weeks that wasn't documented for content. After catching up on her life, I finally let the dam break. "I think Jason is cheating on me," I said, the words burning my throat. Rachel set down her mimosa, her expression serious. "What makes you think that?" I outlined all the inconsistencies, the secretive behavior, the mysterious Amber. Rachel listened without interruption, then reached for my hand. "Before you confront him, you need to be sure," she advised. Men like Jason, especially with his public image, they're good at talking their way out of corners. If you go in with suspicions but no proof, he'll gaslight you until you apologize for doubting him. "What should I do?" I asked, feeling lost in a way I hadn't since before meeting Jason. "Gather evidence," Rachel said firmly. "I hate saying that, but you need to protect yourself. Check your finances too. If he's hiding one thing, he might be hiding others." The idea of investigating my husband made me physically ill. This was the man I built a life with, the person I trusted most in the world. But Rachel's words resonated. If I was wrong, I could apologize and work on my trust issues. If I was right, I needed to be prepared. "This isn't just about your marriage, Mel," Rachel added gently. "This is your career too. Your livelihood is tied to his image. You need to think about protecting yourself on all fronts. On the subway ride home, I thought about our content scheduled for the week, a video about building unshakable trust, and a sponsored post about growing together through challenges. The irony wasn't lost on me. That night, Jason announced he had a 3-day creator retreat upstate. As he packed, I noticed him slipping a bottle of cologne he rarely used into his toiletry bag, along with a new pair of boxers I'd never seen before. When he kissed me goodbye the next morning, I wondered if Amber would be receiving the same kiss hours later. For 3 days, I wrestled with my conscience. Was investigating my husband's private communications justifiable? Was I betraying his trust based on circumstantial evidence? But then I remembered something Jason always said in his relationship advice videos. Intuition isn't paranoia. If something feels consistently wrong, address it before it becomes a crisis. So I made my decision. When Jason returned, I would either find proof and confront him, or I would find nothing and commit to rebuilding my trust. Either way, I couldn't continue in this limbo of suspicion and fear. Our perfect digital life had developed a glitch, and it was time to either repair it or accept that the system needed a complete reboot. The morning after Jason left for his retreat, I sat in our home office staring at his desk. We'd always maintained some privacy, separate personal email accounts, private messages with friends, but shared our passwords for emergencies. Over the past year, Jason had changed all of his passwords, citing security concerns after another influencer's account was hacked. I wasn't proud of what I was about to do, but Rachel's advice echoed in my mind. I needed to know the truth, whatever it was. Jason's laptop was password protected, but he didn't know I'd seen him type it in countless times. His password pattern was predictable, our anniversary followed by whatever campaign he was currently focused on. After 2 attempts, I was in. My heart pounded as his desktop appeared. Where would I even start? Email seemed too obvious. Jason was careful with his main accounts. Instead, I checked his downloads folder and browser history. Nothing unusual appeared at first, just editing software and research for content. Then I noticed an application I didn't recognize minimized in his taskbar. It was a messaging app called Vault Chat that advertised secure, untraceable conversations. Jason had never mentioned using this app. I opened it, expecting to need another password, but it was already logged in. Apparently, Jason didn't expect anyone to get this far. The app opened to reveal only one conversation thread, with a contact named simply A. My mouth went dry as I clicked on it, revealing 8 months of messages between my husband and Amber. The first messages were professional, discussing content ideas and scheduling meetings. But within weeks, the tone shifted dramatically. A. Still thinking about yesterday. Hard to focus on work today. Jason. Same. Never expected this kind of connection. When can I see you again? As I scrolled through months of exchanges, my hands trembled. There were explicit messages describing encounters in hotel rooms, plans made while I was visiting my mother during her cancer recovery, and intimate photos I could barely look at. But worse than the physical betrayal were the emotional messages. Jason, sometimes I feel trapped in this marriage and brand we've built. With you, I can be myself. A. Have you thought more about what we discussed? About your exit strategy? Jason, timing has to be right. The audience loves the perfect couple narrative. It's all about managing the transition without losing followers. A. I understand. Your marriage is your brand. Business first. Jason, for now. But not forever. Just need to build enough of my own following that I don't need the couple content anymore. Tears streamed down my face as I read Jason calling our marriage a character he played and our life together, just for the views. He complained about how exhausting it was to keep up the act with me. Meanwhile, Amber, who I discovered was not a collaboration partner but a 24-year-old intern at his management company, eagerly positioned herself as the understanding woman who appreciated the real him. I took screenshots of everything, sending them to my private email account and backing them up to a secure cloud storage Rachel had helped me set up. Then I dug deeper. In his email drafts folder, I found unsent messages to his manager discussing a brand evolution that would gradually phase me out of content. In his cloud storage, I discovered a folder titled Solo Projects with a business plan for launching his own line of products without me. The financial investigation was just as revealing. While our joint accounts appeared normal, I discovered statements for a separate bank account I never knew existed. Jason had been funneling a portion of his earnings, our earnings, into this account for over a year. The balance was substantial, nearly $100,000 that should have been part of our shared assets. Then came the most painful discovery. In Amber's messages from just last week. Hey, she really has no idea, does she? Jason. None. Mel trusts me completely. That's what makes this so easy. Kind of ironic considering your whole brand is about trust and honesty in relationships, LOL. Jason. The perfect cover, right? Nobody questions the relationship guru. They had laughed about me. About my trust. About the values I genuinely believed in while Jason merely performed them for the camera. I spent hours documenting everything, organizing the evidence chronologically. When I finally stepped away from the computer, the apartment was dark. I hadn't eaten all day, but food was the furthest thing from my mind. I went to our bedroom, the same room Jason had filmed a morning routine with my soulmate video just days earlier, and lay down on his side of the bed, breathing in the lingering scent of his cologne. How had I missed the signs? How had I convinced myself that the cold distance I felt was just the natural evolution of a long-term relationship? The painful truth was that while I had been genuinely building a life, Jason had been building content, with me as merely a prop in his production. That night, I called Rachel and told her everything I'd found. Her anger on my behalf was comforting in its intensity. "What are you going to do?" she asked after I'd shared the details. "I'm meeting with a divorce attorney tomorrow," I replied, surprised by how steady my voice sounded. "But I'm not confronting him right away. I need to secure my position first." "Smart," Rachel said. "You need to protect yourself before the bomb drops." After we hung up, I made one more call to Trevor, Jason's business partner who had been with us since the early days. Trevor had always treated me with respect, acknowledging my behind-the-scenes contributions. I didn't share the infidelity yet, but asked for an urgent meeting tomorrow. As I finally drifted toward sleep, my phone lit up with a message from Jason. "Missing you, babe. The retreat is amazing. So many great connections and opportunities. Can't wait to share everything with you when I get home." I stared at the words, trying to reconcile them with the man I now knew he was. For the first time since we met, I didn't reply. The performance was over, at least from my side. Jason just didn't know it yet. Jason returned from his retreat on Friday afternoon, tanned and energized. He swept into our apartment carrying flowers and a small gift bag. "For my rock," he said, handing me a velvet jewelry box containing a pair of sapphire earrings. "A little thank you for holding down the fort while I was networking." I accepted the gift with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, wondering if these were purchased with our joint account or his secret fund. For 3 days, I'd been meeting with divorce attorney Amanda Collins, documenting our assets and developing a strategy. Now, looking at my husband's confident smile, I had to continue the performance just a little longer. "These meetings were incredible, Mel," Jason continued, unpacking his bag. "The sponsorship opportunities are next level. We're talking about a potential book deal, maybe even a relationship coaching certification program." "Sounds amazing," I replied, watching him carefully. "Who else was at this retreat?" "Oh, the usual suspects," he said vaguely. Trevor was supposed to come but canceled last minute. Some smaller creators, a few brand reps. Industry stuff. Lie number 1. Trevor had confirmed to me that there was no retreat. Jason had told him he was taking personal days to visit his parents. "I made reservations for dinner," I said. Thought we could celebrate your successful trip. At the restaurant, an upscale Italian place where we'd filmed content before, Jason ordered champagne and dominated the conversation with elaborate stories about connections he'd made and insights he'd gained at the non-existent retreat. I nodded at appropriate intervals, asking questions that allowed him to embellish further, digging himself deeper with each fabrication. "Oh," he said casually between bites of pasta, "I might need to go to Chicago next week for a follow-up meeting." "Just 2 days. With Amber?" I asked, my voice neutral. His fork paused halfway to his mouth. "Amber? Your intern. The one you've been sleeping with for 8 months. The one you were with on your retreat this week." The color drained from Jason's face. He set down his fork and looked around the restaurant, immediately concerned about who might overhear. "Not here," he whispered urgently. "Why not? You've turned our entire life into content. Why not this part too?" My voice remained calm, even as my hands trembled beneath the table. "Melanie, please. Let's discuss this at home. You clearly have the wrong idea about." I reached into my purse and placed a small stack of printed screenshots on the table, sliding them toward him. The top image showed a particularly explicit exchange from just 3 days ago. "Wrong idea? Please explain what idea I should have." Jason stared at the papers, then back at me, his expression morphing from shock to anger. "You went through my private messages?" "You spied on me," he hissed, attempting to flip the script. "Interesting that your first response isn't to deny it, but to accuse me of invading your privacy," I observed, taking a sip of water. "Yes, I did." After months of lies, changed passwords, hidden accounts, and unexplained absences, I finally listened to my intuition. "You know, like you advise your followers to do." His eyes darted around the restaurant again. "We need to talk about this rationally at home. This could damage everything we've built if someone overhears." "You mean everything you've built?" "According to your messages, I'm just a prop in your production." I gathered the papers back into my purse. "But you're right. Let's continue this at home." The Uber ride was silent. Jason stared out the window, occasionally glancing at me with a mixture of anger and calculation. I could almost see him formulating his defense, weighing his options. Once inside our apartment, he immediately went on the offensive. "What you did was a complete violation of trust. Those were private conversations on my personal devices. And sleeping with your intern while married wasn't a violation of trust?" I countered. "It's not what it looks like," he started, running his hand through his hair. "Amber and I, it's complicated. We connected on a project and things got out of hand. It's just a physical thing. It doesn't mean anything." "A physical thing that's been going on for 8 months? While you were building a brand based on authentic relationships and trust." "That's business, Mel. The content, the brand, it's separate from our real life." "Except it's not, Jason. You've been living a double life. You created a secret bank account. You've been planning to phase me out of our joint business. You laughed with her about how clueless I was." His expression hardened. "You went through my finances too? Do you have any boundaries left? Do you?" I shot back. "You're not denying any of it. Not the affair, not the secret account, not the plans to leave." Jason paced the living room, then stopped, his demeanor shifting suddenly. He sat on the couch, head in his hands, the picture of remorse. "I've made mistakes, Mel. Serious ones. I got caught up in the attention, the opportunity. But we can fix this. Think about what we've built together. 5 years of content, millions of followers, our brand partnerships. We can't throw that all away." "We?" "There is no we anymore, Jason. You decided that when you started sleeping with Amber. It was a mistake," he insisted, looking up with perfectly timed tears in his eyes. "I'll end it. I'll go to therapy. We can rebrand, be even more authentic with our audience about overcoming challenges. Relationship struggles are relatable content. This could actually help our engagement." I stared at him, incredulous. "You're thinking about how my pain can be monetized?" "I'm being practical," he said. This business supports both of us. If this gets out uncontrolled, we both lose everything. Sponsors will pull out. The book deal will vanish. Is that what you want? What I want is a husband who doesn't cheat on me, lie to me, and steal from me. I didn't steal. The secret account, Jason. Money that should have been ours that you hid from me. While I was editing your videos until 3 a.m. and managing your calendar and negotiating with brands. All while you were with her. He stood up, frustration replacing his calculated remorse. What do you want from me, Melanie? An apology? Fine, I'm sorry. But we need to be smart about this. If you blow up our brand in some emotional revenge move, you're hurting yourself too. I want you to leave, I said quietly. Tonight. Go stay with Amber or at a hotel. I need space. This is my apartment too. I'm not leaving. Actually, it's our apartment. And I'm not asking. Don't threaten me, Mel, he said, his voice dropping. If you're thinking of divorce, remember that I'm the face of this brand. The followers are mine. The sponsors know me. You're the behind-the-scenes wife. Without me, you have nothing. In that moment, looking at the cold calculation in his eyes, I realized that the man I married had either never existed or had disappeared long ago. This stranger wearing my husband's face saw me not as a partner, but as an asset whose value he was assessing. If you don't leave tonight, I said evenly, I'll call Trevor, your manager, your parents, and every brand we work with right now and tell them everything. Including how you've been lying about campaign metrics to charge higher rates. His eyes widened. You wouldn't. Try me. I have nothing left to lose. We stared at each other across the living room we'd filmed dozens of cozy night in videos in. The standoff lasted nearly a minute before Jason finally grabbed his jacket. Fine. I'll stay at a hotel tonight. But this conversation isn't over. Don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. Remember, whatever hurts me hurts you too. As the door closed behind him, I sank onto the couch, the full weight of the confrontation hitting me at once. Through my tears, I sent a text to Rachel. He's gone. It's real. It's all real. Her reply came immediately. I'm on my way over. Don't post anything online. Don't talk to anyone else. We're going to get through this together. For the first time in years, I turned off all social media notifications. Whatever happened next, I knew our perfect digital life was over. The only question was whether I would let it destroy me too, or whether I could find a way to reclaim my story. That night, after Rachel left, I couldn't sleep. Our bed felt enormous and cold. Around 3 a.m., I moved to the guest room, unable to bear the lingering scent of Jason's cologne on his pillow. With my laptop balanced on my knees, I began researching divorce attorneys specializing in cases involving digital assets and intellectual property. By morning, I had a list of 3 potential lawyers. The first 2 couldn't see me for weeks, but the third, Amanda Wilson, a sharp-eyed woman with a reputation for handling high-profile divorces involving social media figures, offered me an emergency consultation that afternoon. Digital assets are the new frontier in divorce proceedings, Amanda explained in her sleek downtown office. Content, accounts, partnerships, these have real monetary value. The good news is that you've been an integral part of creating this value. But his name is on everything, I said. The accounts, the contracts. Not everything, from what you've told me, Amanda replied. Your photography is in those posts. Your editing shaped that content. Your negotiation secured those deals. And most importantly, you have documentation of your contributions. I'd brought my laptop, showing Amanda years of emails, content calendars, and project files proving my role in building Jason's brand. Here's what we need to do, Amanda said, leaning forward. First, secure all evidence of the affair and financial misconduct. Second, document your contributions to the business. Third, identify and value all marital assets, including digital ones. And fourth, this is crucial. Don't tip your hand until we're ready to file. Jason expects me to either forgive him or have an emotional meltdown that he can use against me, I said. Then let him think that's happening. The element of surprise will be our advantage. On my way home, I received a text from Trevor, Jason's business partner, asking to meet privately. We arranged to meet at a small cafe far from our usual haunts. Jason told me you two had a fight, Trevor said after we ordered coffee. Said you were emotional and making wild accusations. I studied Trevor's face, trying to gauge where his loyalties lay. Trevor had been with us since Jason hit 500,000 followers, helping transform our operation from a hobby into a business. He'd always been professional with me, but his primary relationship was with Jason. Taking a calculated risk, I slid my phone across the table, open to some of the screenshots. Are these accusations wild? Trevor's expression shifted as he scrolled through the messages, his professional demeanor cracking to reveal genuine shock. He's been with Amber? Our intern. He looked up, disbelieving. While filming those relationship advice videos? For 8 months, I confirmed. And planning to rebrand without me once he builds enough solo recognition. Trevor handed back my phone, visibly disturbed. I had no idea, Melanie. I swear. This isn't just personal betrayal. It's fraud. We've built this brand on authenticity and trust. I know. That's why I wanted to talk to you directly. Whatever happens next affects you too. Trevor ran a hand over his face. The sponsors will pull out if this gets out messily. The book publisher will run for the hills. I'm aware. I'm not looking to burn everything down out of spite. But I won't be erased from what I helped build, and I won't pretend his behavior is acceptable. We spent the next hour outlining a strategy. Trevor revealed that several sponsors had been specifically interested in our content because of my aesthetic and the female demographic I helped attract. He also confirmed something I had suspected. Jason had been less than transparent with him about certain revenue streams. I'll send you copies of all contracts, Trevor promised. And Melanie. I'm sorry. This isn't right. Over the next week, I maintained a precarious balancing act. To Jason, I presented the image of a hurt wife considering reconciliation for the sake of our brand. I allowed him back into our apartment, but suggested he sleep in the guest room until I process everything. He readily agreed, relieved that I wasn't making public accusations. We can work through this, he assured me, his hand on mine across our dining table. I've ended things with Amber. I'm looking into therapy options. We can come back stronger than ever. Meanwhile, I was methodically executing the plan Amanda and I had developed. 1. I created secure backups of all content, correspondence, and financial records. 2. I documented every asset purchased during our marriage. 3. I met discreetly with 3 of our major sponsors, positioning myself as an individual creator they might want to continue working with. 4. I secured access to all our shared accounts, changing recovery emails and phone numbers to ones only I controlled. 5. I began moving my personal belongings to Rachel's apartment in small, unnoticeable batches. The most difficult discovery came when Trevor forwarded me an email chain he'd found between Jason and a branding consultant. The subject line, Solo Rebrand Strategy Post-Split. The emails, dated just 2 months ago, outlined a 12-month plan for Jason to gradually distance himself from the couple content and establish himself as a solo lifestyle expert. The consultant had suggested positioning any future separation as a mutual growth decision and had even drafted potential announcement language. They had been planning my obsolescence while I was still editing his videos and believing his lies. The final confirmation of Jason's true character came when I gained access to his direct messages with Amber after their supposed breakup. Far from ending things, he had simply advised her to lay low until this blows over. They were still meeting in hotel rooms while he was telling me he was committed to rebuilding our marriage. She's being surprisingly reasonable, he wrote to Amber. Once the drama settles, we can figure out next steps. Just needs to be handled delicately for the brand. That night, I sat alone in our home office, the room where I'd spent countless hours building his career, and made my final decision. Jason had never intended to salvage our marriage. He had only wanted to control the narrative around its inevitable end. He was simply waiting for the optimal time to discard me, like an outdated piece of equipment. I opened my laptop and wrote an email to Amanda. "I'm ready. Let's proceed with filing." The next morning, as Jason left for a brand strategy meeting, which his location sharing revealed was actually at a hotel, I received confirmation from Amanda that everything was in place. The divorce papers were ready to be served. The financial records were documented. The digital assets were secured. Now it was simply a matter of timing, and after years of creating content, I understood the importance of a strategic launch. The opportunity presented itself perfectly. Jason had been invited to speak at InfluenceCon, one of the largest creator conferences on the East Coast. His presentation topic? Authentic connection, building trust with your audience. The irony wasn't lost on me. I had declined to attend, citing a need for personal space to heal, which Jason had accepted with visible relief. What he didn't know was that I had spent the previous week coordinating with Amanda, Trevor, Rachel, and my sister Kristen to execute a precisely timed plan. On the morning of his presentation, Jason was in full performance mode, practicing his speech in our living room. "I really think this is going to be a breakthrough moment," he said excitedly. The conference organizer said they're expecting over 3,000 attendees for my session. "That's amazing," I replied, helping him select the perfect, approachable but authoritative outfit for his talk. This could open up so many new opportunities. "Exactly," he agreed, not catching the double meaning in my words. He kissed my cheek before leaving. "I'll call you right after it's done. Maybe we can celebrate tonight." "Definitely," I said with a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Good luck today." The moment his car pulled away, I began the countdown. Rachel arrived 15 minutes later with her SUV, and we quickly loaded the essential items I'd been secretly packing: important documents, irreplaceable photos, family heirlooms, and enough clothes to get by. Everything else could be sorted out later. "You ready for this?" Rachel asked as we finished loading. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," I replied, taking one last look at the apartment that had been both my home and a content stage for the past 4 years. At exactly 1:45 p.m., just as Jason would be taking the stage for his 2 p.m. presentation, I initiated the first phase, changing all passwords simultaneously. Our shared cloud storage, social media accounts, email recovery options, and financial portals. Trevor, who had helped set up most of these accounts, had provided the backdoor access I needed. Then came the post. We had crafted it carefully, honest but not vindictive, transparent without being gratuitous. I published it simultaneously across all platforms. To our community, this is Melanie. I've always valued authenticity, which is why I need to share something difficult. My marriage to Jason has ended due to his long-term infidelity with a team member. While I've remained committed to the values we promoted online, I've discovered that behind the scenes, these principles weren't being honored. I'm taking time to heal and determine my next steps. I'm grateful for your support over the years and ask for privacy during this transition. The content we created about trust and honesty still has value, even if the relationship behind it didn't live up to those standards. I attached a single screenshot, the most innocent one that still clearly proved the affair, and published it before I could second-guess myself. Almost immediately, my phone began buzzing with notifications. I silenced it and continued to the next phase. Trevor posted his own statement shortly after. As Jason and Melanie's business partner for the past 4 years, I feel compelled to address the situation. I was unaware of the infidelity until recently and am deeply disappointed. I stand with Melanie and the values of honesty our brand was built upon. Our team is evaluating next steps regarding ongoing projects. Within an hour, the story had spread across every social media platform. The timing couldn't have been more devastating for Jason, stepping off stage from his authenticity talk to find his carefully constructed image imploding in real time. By the time Jason called, frantically demanding to know what was happening, I was already settled at Kristen's apartment across town. "What have you done?" he shouted when I finally answered. "Do you have any idea what you've just destroyed?" "I've done exactly what you planned to do," I replied calmly. "The only difference is timing and honesty. This is career suicide. The sponsors are already calling. The conference organizers just pulled my second session. You need to post a retraction immediately. Say your account was hacked." "No, Jason. This is accountability. Something you've built a career preaching but never actually practiced." His voice turned threatening. "I'll sue you for defamation. For unauthorized access. For telling the truth with evidence to back it up? For accessing accounts that are legally half mine? My lawyer is prepared for any action you might take." As we spoke, I watched the real-time fallout on my laptop. 3 major sponsors had already issued statements pausing their relationship with Jason pending further clarification of the situation. His follower count was dropping by the thousands. Comment sections were flooded with shocked supporters and critics alike. "You've had months to prepare how you'd discard me," I continued. "I simply beat you to it." "This isn't just about us," he yelled. "What about the book deal? The product line? You've thrown away millions." "No, you did that when you betrayed everything we claimed to stand for. Check your email, by the way. You've been served with divorce papers." The process server, arranged by Amanda, had delivered the documents to Jason at the conference immediately after his session. The timing was intentional. Public settings made it harder for recipients to react poorly. Jason's voice dropped to a desperate whisper. "Melanie, please. We can still fix this. We can position it as a hack, then do a joint statement about working through challenges. People love comeback stories. We could even document the recovery process, turn this into a whole new content vertical about relationship repair." "Goodbye, Jason." I ended the call and turned off my phone. The relief was immediate and overwhelming, like setting down a weight I hadn't realized I'd been carrying for years. The next few days passed in a blur. While Jason attempted damage control through increasingly desperate statements, more evidence kept emerging. Amber, panicking about her professional reputation, released her own apology acknowledging the relationship. 2 other women from previous brand partnerships contacted me privately with similar stories about Jason's collaboration opportunities. Trevor, true to his word, protected our ongoing business contracts and helped me navigate the brand fallout. Several sponsors reached out directly to express support and discuss potential solo projects. My follower count surged as people looked for my side of the story. Jason's attempts to discredit me backfired spectacularly. When he claimed I was emotionally unstable and had misinterpreted friendly messages, I simply released another, more explicit screenshot. When he suggested I had trapped him in an unhappy marriage, Trevor published their email exchanges where Jason had repeatedly referred to me as his secret weapon and the backbone of our success. The most unexpected support came from Jason's own management team, who dropped him as a client after discovering he had been negotiating side deals without their knowledge, another deception I had uncovered and shared with Trevor. A week after the initial post, I finally checked my direct messages. Among thousands of supportive comments and media requests were notes from other content creator wives thanking me for exposing the reality behind perfect online marriages. "I've been living the same lie," one wrote. "Watching your strength has given me courage." That message affected me more than any viral count or media coverage. While Jason had been building a business based on falsehoods, I had inadvertently created something authentic, a community of people seeking honesty in an industry built on carefully crafted images. 2 weeks after my post, Jason made one final attempt at reconciliation. He showed up at Kristen's apartment unannounced, holding a bouquet of flowers identical to those in our How I Keep Romance Alive video series. "Just hear me out," he pleaded when I reluctantly opened the door. "We can turn this around." A public reconciliation would be huge. We could rebrand as a couple who faced the hardest challenge and came out stronger. Vulnerability is engaging. The documentary potential alone could recoup everything we've lost. I studied his face. Still handsome, still charming, but now I could see what lay beneath the practiced sincerity. He wasn't grieving our marriage, he was calculating engagement metrics. The divorce will be finalized in 3 months, I said, stepping back from the doorway. Please communicate through Amanda from now on. As I closed the door on Jason and our marriage, I realized that his betrayal had inadvertently given me the one thing I had lost during our years of performing perfection, my authentic voice. 6 months later, I stood in my new apartment, morning light streaming through windows that had never been dressed as background for content. The divorce had been finalized 2 months earlier, more smoothly than expected after Jason's attempts to fight it publicly had damaged his remaining sponsorships. In the final settlement, I received half of all marital assets, including the substantial secret account Jason had hidden. More importantly, I retained co-ownership of all content created during our marriage and exclusive rights to my photography and visual designs. The apartment and most of our physical possessions went to Jason, a fair trade for my freedom and financial security. My phone buzzed with a calendar notification. Podcast interview, 2 p.m. I smiled, remembering how nervous I'd been for my first solo media appearance 3 months ago. Now, I had a growing platform of my own, built not on relationship advice, but on authentic storytelling and creative consulting for brands wanting genuine connection with audiences. The healing process hadn't been linear. In the weeks after the separation, I'd cycled through rage, grief, shame, and disorienting relief. With the help of my therapist, Dr. Marshall, I began untangling my authentic self from the persona I'd cultivated online. What you're experiencing is identity reclamation, Dr. Marshall had explained during one particularly difficult session. For years, your sense of self was fused with not just your marriage, but the public perception of that marriage. Now you're rediscovering who Melanie is outside of that context. The therapy journey taught me to recognize patterns I'd fallen into. The people-pleasing tendencies that had made me such an effective behind-the-scenes partner, the conflict avoidance that had allowed Jason's behavior to continue unchecked, and the fear of inadequacy that had kept me accepting scraps of appreciation. Rachel had been my rock throughout the process, offering her guest room until I found my own place and accompanying me to legal meetings when my confidence wavered. My sister Kristen had helped me rebuild social connections that had withered under the demands of content creation. Together, they formed the foundation of my reclaimed support system. Professionally, I had taken a calculated risk. Rather than trying to maintain the lifestyle influencer path, I launched a boutique creative consultancy helping small businesses develop authentic brand narratives. The skills I'd honed making Jason look good served me well in this new venture. Trevor had become a valuable business ally, referring clients and collaborating on projects where our expertise complemented each other. Most surprisingly, I had found community among other women rebuilding after similar experiences. What began as a support group of 5 former creator wives meeting virtually had evolved into a network of over 30 women sharing resources, references, and recovery strategies. We were discussing formalizing our group into a proper organization to help others navigate the unique challenges of relationships that double as content. My personal social media had transformed as well. Gone were the perfectly staged glimpses of an idealized life, replaced by honest reflections on growth, occasional struggles, and genuine moments of joy. My follower count had initially dropped after the split, but had since grown beyond what Jason and I had built together. Authenticity, it turned out, had a larger audience than perfection. The most unexpected communication had come 3 months after the divorce filing, a handwritten letter from Amber. "I don't expect forgiveness," she had written. "But I want you to know that I've been in therapy confronting the choices I made and the harm I caused. Jason presented your marriage as essentially over, but I still chose to participate in the deception rather than respecting boundaries. I'm truly sorry for my role in your pain. I hadn't responded, but the acknowledgement had helped me release some lingering anger. Amber had been wrong, but Jason had been the one who broke vows and promises. She was merely a symptom of his character, not the cause of our marriage's failure. Last month, at a media industry event, I had spotted Jason across the room. He looked thinner, his signature confident posture slightly diminished. His attempt at rebranding as a personal growth expert documenting his journey of self-improvement had gained modest traction, but nothing approaching his former influence. Our eyes met briefly, his widening in surprise, mine calm and unbothered. I simply nodded and continued my conversation, feeling nothing but a distant recognition, like encountering a character from a book I'd read long ago. When friends expressed surprise at my lack of bitterness, I explained that carrying anger would only keep me tethered to the past. The opposite of love isn't hate, I told them, echoing Dr. Marshall's wisdom. It's indifference. The greatest lesson from my marriage's public implosion was the liberation found in shedding performances. The expectation to maintain a perfect image had been an invisible prison. Now, I could have bad days without hiding them, express opinions without filtering them for brand safety, and connect with people who appreciated my authentic self rather than a curated projection. My new content philosophy was simple: share from a place of genuine experience, never pretend expertise I don't possess, and maintain clear boundaries between my public and private life. The validation of likes and comments no longer determined my worth. As I prepared for my podcast interview, I glanced at a framed quote on my wall, words I had written during those first dark days after discovering Jason's betrayal. Your story belongs to you, even when others try to rewrite it. That had become my mantra and my message to others. We all face attempts to have our narratives controlled or diminished, whether by partners, employers, family, or society. The true power comes not in perfect performances, but in reclaiming authorship of our own lives. I picked up my phone for one final check of my calendar and noticed a comment on my latest post, a simple reflection on rebuilding after betrayal. It was from a woman I didn't know. Your courage to share truth saved me from years in a similar situation. Thank you for showing what's possible on the other side. This was the unexpected gift that had emerged from my pain, the ability to help others by simply being honest about my experience. Not with performative vulnerability designed to maximize engagement, but with genuine sharing that might reach someone who needed to hear it. Before heading out, I decided to record a quick update for my community. No perfect lighting, no scripted lines, just an authentic check-in. Quick reminder before I sign off today, your worth isn't measured by likes, your story isn't defined by setbacks, and authentic connections will always outvalue perfect appearances. Thank you all for being part of this journey with me. If this resonates with you, please like and subscribe to join our growing community. I'd love to hear in the comments about a time when being authentic served you better than trying to be perfect. Your stories inspire me every day. Until next time, be gentle with yourselves and remember that healing isn't linear, but it is possible. As I closed the camera app, I smiled at how far I'd come. The journey hadn't been easy, but standing in my truth had led me to a life more genuine than any highlight reel we'd ever created.